Among 17,715 catalogued records from the research laboratories of archaeology, one carries a single-word description. It is not a pot. It is not a point. The catalogue gives it one word, Klinker. This is the record as it stands. Catalogue number 2115, M3123. Description, Klinker. Category, slag. Material, slag. Quantity, 1. Site, 31HW1, Garden Creek Mound number 1, Haywood County, North Carolina, in the drainage of the Pigeon River. The site number does real work. It fixes this object to Garden Creek Mound number 1, excavated completely between 1965 and 1967 under National Science Foundation support. What it does not fix is stratigraphy. No square, no level, no feature. Before any of this, one thing has to be established about the place. Mounds, areolas, shell and copper, earth lodge and platform mound architecture. A funerary context on a long Pigeon River ceremonial landscape. Garden Creek is a sacred and mortuary landscape. It is not an object marketplace, and nothing that follows treats it as one. Garden Creek is not one site in time. The Appalachian Summit sequence here runs from Paleo-Indian through Qualla, 10,000 years of it. Mound number 1 belongs to the Pisgah phase, the opening of the Mississippian period in these mountains. Occupation of the locality is given as running to roughly 1700. And it was not opened first in the 1960s. The Valentine Museum dug Mound number 2 in 1880, before definitive archaeological technique existed. He measured and opened Mound number 1 in 1915 and Mound number 3 in 1919. The Chapel Hill excavation is the fourth intervention, not the first, and everything that follows is layered on 85 years of prior digging. He measured the mound in 1915, conical, 80 feet across, 18 feet high. Beneath it lay a two-room semi-subterranean ceremonial earth lodge, over which the mound was raised in 2 episodes. Those lodges were exposed as Feature 62 in 1967. The season that produced Accession 2115 and this Klinker. But there is a second sentence, and it governs what follows. 50 years later, it was substantially lowered from plowing and erosion. Between 1915 and 1965, on land held by the Plott and Smathers families, this mound was farmed. Which leaves the question, mound fill, zone A, or plow zone? The record does not say, so it has to be answered another way. 2 readings compete. Coal Klinker of the historic period. The Southern Railway runs the Pigeon Valley, and the Canton Mill Complex burned coal from 1908 forward, or high-temperature residue belonging to the site itself. The catalogue was never going to settle that alone, but the catalogue is large, and large catalogues can be interrogated. First, across all 17,715 records, exactly 2 entries are classed as slag or Klinker. Both come from the Garden Creek complex. They are catalogued differently. One is recorded as coal Klinker, category fragment, material coal. The other is recorded as Klinker, category slag, material slag. Same institution, same site complex. The catalogers had a coal determination available and used it on the other specimen. They did not apply it to this one. That is a positive distinction, not an absence. Second, and stronger. Catalog serials at this site in Accession 2115 run from 3 to 3640, and RLA assigns them in field lot order, which means the numbers on either side of an object record what came out of the ground beside it. Charcoal, compressed ash, the Klinker, an ash sample, 12 ash fragments, 5 of the 8 ash records in this accession fall between serials 3121 and 3152. That window is 1.7% of the serial range, and it holds 62% of the ash. The Klinker sits at 3123, dead center. A stray fragment carried into a plowed field does not land in the densest ash concentration at the site. It lands anywhere. This one did not land anywhere. What it does not do is prove the case. Catalog adjacency is an inference about field order. It is not a field record and it is not a stratum. Serial runs break under recataloging, lot consolidation, or processing order. The inference is strong. It is not documentation. 4 radiocarbon determinations are registered for the site, all submitted by CO. Calibrated against INCAL 20, they do not form one population. 1 Canesti determination from Mound 2, 1 Pisgah determination from Mound 1, and 2 that co-labeled historic koala, which is where the problem lies. GX596, labeled historic koala with trade material, calibrates to 1288 through 1527, essentially pre-contact. Run against GX595, which co-called Pisgah, T equals 0.02, against a critical value of 3.84. They are statistically the same radiocarbon age carrying opposite phase assignments. The labels follow the ceramics, not the dates. Only GX729 carries a date that supports a historic assignment. Square 215 R145, Zone A, the upper zone, koala pottery, and a cast bronze bell. The bell was manufactured in Europe. The occupation was Cherokee. Those are two different facts, and the object does not tell us who carried it inland. What it does tell us is that the upper zone of mound number 1 holds a documented koala phase occupation with trade goods in it. That is the context this Klinker would belong to if it does not belong to the Pisgah sequence. And the Klinker is not the only post-contact object at mound number 1. 4 nails, 2 historic shirts, 2 bullets, a bell, Coe's cast bronze bell sitting in the catalog independently of the radiocarbon record, a peach pit, and the slag. Every one of those categories concentrates at mound number 1 and appears at neither of the other Garden Creek mounds. The peach pit is the decisive one. Prunus persica is a European introduction to North America. A charred peach stone cannot belong to a phase that ended around 1450. It is catalogued in accession 2115, the same accession, the same season, the same mound as the Klinker. Post-contact material is inside this deposit. That is settled, and it was settled by the catalog. Set against that, the material field records coal 5 times at this site and slag once. Those are 2 different catalog fields, so the comparison is cross-field and has to be stated as such. But the plain reading is available. Coal debris is present at mound number 1 and 1 piece of something fused. Except that the disturbance is not evenly spread. The peach pit is catalog serial 481. The Klinker is serial 3123, 2,642 lots apart in the same accession, in field lot order. The post-contact markers at this mound are real. They are not where the Klinker is. What sits beside a Klinker is ash and charcoal. And there is one more sequence worth setting down, because it bears on how this material was received. December 1880, a Cherokee man in Macon County tells Valentine that images from these mountains are used by medicine men to bring rain. 1882, Rao returns an adverse verdict on the class. December 1882, Secretary Teller writes that medicine men are impostors practicing deception by artifice and device. March 1883, Rule 6 makes their practice a punishable offense, and the objects used in it become instruments of a criminalized act. That same year, the Smithsonian sends Emmert to investigate the manufacture of imitations in western North Carolina. 1 vocabulary of counterfeit, 2 arms of the same government inside 27 months. No order to the Smithsonian has been located, and none is claimed. Which brings the standard this project works to. No all-real conclusion. No all-fake conclusion. Object-level proof remains required, and each object is resolved on its own by catalog concordance, custody, context, material testing, and source control, one at a time. This is one object. Rated. Site attribution, proven. That the specimen is a Klinker, a fused combustion residue, proven, on 2 independent catalog fields. A qualiphase component in zone of mound number 1, proven, on co-zone date and a cast bronze bell. Association with an ash concentration, supported on catalog adjacency. The origin of that combustion coal and historic, unresolved. 3 instruments remain. The RLA field specimen log covering lots 30-120 through 30-152, which would give a square and a zone. SEM-E-D-S and X-ray diffraction on the Klinker itself, coal ash chemistry answers it one way, clay silicate chemistry the other, and chemistry on the 5 adjacent ash lots. Wood ash runs to calcium and potassium carbonates, coal ash to silica, alumina, iron and sulfur. That third test is the cheapest, and it interrogates the context rather than the object. So here is where it stands. 1 Klinker, 1 slag record in 13,086. It sits at the center of the densest ash concentration at the site in an accession that also holds a peach pit that cannot be pisca, nails, bullets, glass, iron, lead and brass. The catalog proves this deposit is mixed, which means no single mount number 1 contacts can be called sealed in either direction. The Klinker is not confirmed by the ash, and it is not dismissed by the coal. It is resolved by chemistry, and the samples are curated in Chapel Hill, where they have been since 1967.